Hi, this is Shauna, and I want to welcome you to Living in This Space. Real talk, because hey, we're all just living in this space we call life, right? It's messy, it's hard, and sometimes it's the most joyous thing we can experience. I want you, my listener, to have a place where the conversation is real and honest. I hope we can spend this time together, validating, sharing, and experiencing all the feels together with whatever topic is on the agenda for the day. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back. Today, we are talking about something that I've struggled to see and accept in my own life so many times, and that's the feeling of being powerless. First, I want to read you something that I read during my quiet time this morning in a book called Journey to the Heart by Melody Beattie. It's a very short and simple sentence that prompted this episode you're listening to. There is power in admitting powerlessness. Now I'm going to read that to you one more time. There is power in admitting powerlessness. You know, I really had to think about this one for a moment. I had to read and reread it several times before it really sunk in, the message that she was trying to get across. There is power in admitting our own powerlessness. How often do we feel that powerlessness, that out-of-control feeling in our own lives, or the feeling that we are incapable of change? Maybe it's an issue with our weight and we desperately want to gain control of our health. Or maybe you hit the snooze button every single morning. I do that one. I really struggle with that one. Maybe you can't seem to pull yourself away from binge scrolling on your phone or binge watching TV. Maybe it's an addiction of some kind. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, or gambling. I know I'm missing some things on this list, but I think we all know what that word addiction means and just how devastating it can be, not only to us personally, but also to those in our lives who we love and who love us. Now, outside of those obviously detrimental to our well-being addictions, the other things on that list may seem frivolous in nature, because our thoughts will always tell us, oh, that's no big deal. I can stop that at any time. But each day, we seem to get back up and start all over again, repeating the same cycle. And then, each night, most of us are likely beating ourselves up because once again, we feel like a failure. Now, please hear me on this one thing before I go any farther. I am not a therapist, nor am I a trained life or addiction counselor. So, if you're battling addictions that are hurting you or the loved ones in your life, please seek the help of a trained practitioner. I want you to know, listener, that you are so worthy of taking control back. You are so worthy, even though you may feel lost in this very moment. But right now, let's circle back and unpack this topic of admitting to being powerless. When I'm struggling, I usually haven't recognized or admitted to myself that feeling of powerlessness. I'm usually blaming myself at the end of the day for not having the willpower to stick with a healthy eating plan, or having the willpower to not procrastinate, or whatever it is that's got me hung up. If we find ourselves here, we're usually so busy beating ourselves up that we can't grasp the why of what is behind our failures and choices. It's usually because we haven't admitted that in that moment, and I repeat, in that moment, we are powerless. We're craving into some of those ingrained habits or thought patterns. My friends, once we admit that powerlessness, we can start navigating what it will take to regain the power over our choices and decisions. What Melody is telling us in today's meditation is, and I'm going to quote her here, we keep doing the same old things. We can't seem to change, even though we wish we could. It doesn't mean we aren't responsible. It doesn't mean we aren't accountable. It simply means that for the present moment, we can't change. We can't help ourselves. We can't do differently. She goes on to say, there is power in admitting powerlessness. By facing the problem, by accepting the powerlessness, you are bringing and attracting help. Now, I want to repeat that last sentence one more time. By facing the problem, by accepting the powerlessness, you are bringing and attracting help. That made so much sense to me. If we can just accept it and admit that that's what the problem is, now we know what to do. We can take steps forward. I want to share with you some of my thoughts here around a word I used a few minutes ago, because I think this is important as well. We throw around the word willpower a lot. I hear it almost every day. If I only had the willpower, I could change. If I just had the willpower to stop eating cookies, I could gain control of my health. If I just had the willpower, I could be a different person. I could stop some of those bad habits. You know, we usually blame this feeling of powerlessness on a lack of willpower. And this causes us to beat ourselves up continuously. Because in my thought, willpower is something I should have control over. My friends, there is a huge chasm between what we know we should do and what we are calling the willpower to actually do it. Most of the actions or thoughts we're struggling with are deeply rooted into our brains and nervous systems. So feeling powerless over them is totally understandable. I want to tell you, willpower rarely has enough muscle to help us change those deeply rooted behaviors and thoughts. I personally feel we first need to recognize, as Melody says, that powerlessness. Then we can start to do the work of paving new paths, new actions, and new habits that will then, listen to this, empower us to redirect our actions, thoughts, and habits. I love that word empower because it is so fulfilling when you do something that causes that feeling to rise up. I am empowered when I don't eat that cookie in the pantry. You know, it's going to take effort, work, and determination, and grit. It may be painful, it may be humbling, but it's always going to be worth the effort you're putting into it. And I want to tell you, if you're dealing with something that requires professional help, if you're dealing with one of those stronger addictions and those dangerous addictions, please seek help immediately. These are always going to require professional help. So I just want to encourage you to just stop in the moment and pick up that phone and make a phone call to get some help. But if you're dealing with those less toxic habits, then I want you to admit to yourself, you need to navigate whatever it's going to take for you to make a change in your life, a positive change. I want to share with you some steps that might help you to get on the other side of that feeling of powerlessness. So, I want you to get out a notebook or a piece of paper. Now, my personal recommendation here is to get a notebook out because I think once you start, you might just find you have a lot of writing to do. I want you to write down whatever it is that has a hold on you. Is it poor eating habits? Maybe it's mindless scrolling. It's such a time sucker. Maybe it's habitual checking out emotionally. Maybe it's hitting that snooze button every morning. I'm going to be really transparent with y'all here. Every one of those things I struggle with. And this list is going to be different for each of us. But most of us have at least one thing that we need to address. And then the rest of us, I think we have more than just one. Be sure to put pen to paper that you recognize and that you are admitting to the powerlessness you have felt over whatever it is that has a hold on you. Speak it out loud if you need to. Look in the mirror and talk to yourself. I want to tell you guys, there is so much power in that first step of admission. And if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, I think it just comes across even stronger. Maybe you'll want to tell a trusted friend, Or you might want to make a public admission. Now, I'm going to share with you, 6 years ago, I started a weight loss journey, and I had to make that public admission because I had dieted and failed so many times. But I knew if I made a bold post on my social media, what I was doing, and I posted pictures and updates of my progress, that I felt like it would hold me more accountable. Now, was this easy? Oh, no. My gosh, no, it wasn't. I was first so embarrassed to admit that I had almost 90 pounds to lose. And then secondly, I was terrified that once I posted it, if I failed, everyone would know. Everyone would know that I was a failure yet again. Looking back, I want to be really honest with you. It was one of the most important things that I did because, yes, it did have a measure of pressure to stay accountable to myself. Now, please hear me. This is not going to be everyone's journey, nor is a public admission always going to be appropriate. You'll know in your heart. You'll recognize if this is a path that's good for you. But if you feel like that public admission is important for you, then that's your choice and your journey. These next steps are important because they are going to be in the moment, deliberate steps. I'm going to use a personal example here of making healthy choices for this one. I'm standing at the pantry. It's been one of those days, and I am totally emotionally drained. I'm looking at a bag of chips and a jar of salsa. These are my personal kryptonite. I feel powerless in this moment because it's a pull, because my brain is telling me, it's okay. You need this. It's been a crappy day, and you're going to feel so much better when you sit on the couch with your chips and salsa, a glass of wine, and binge watch that favorite show you love so much. Now, my listeners, please hear my heart here. I know that many of you are struggling with this one. Your kryptonite is around the area of food. It might be something sweet. Maybe it's a cocktail at the end of the day. Maybe, like me, it's something crunchy and salty and that glass of wine. Whatever it is, you are now face to face with it, feeling totally powerless in that moment. So what do you do now? You recognize what's happening. In this moment, I want you to stop. Stop for just a moment to reflect on what's going on. Are you facing something that you've told yourself 1,000 times you need to get a handle on? Is that alarm going off and you know if you hit it, you're going to be running late? Are you tempted to shop knowing that you really don't need anything? You're just chasing that high of having something new. Friends, the list is long. But whatever it is, the first step is to stop and recognize what's going on in that moment. Then, I want you to challenge yourself. In this very moment, you can ask yourself, does this serve me well? Is this a struggle for me? Is it a pattern that I need to or want to change? Is this something that at the end of the day is going to cause those feelings of failure? Is it food? If it's food, ask yourself, am I really hungry? Or am I trying to fill an emotional need? Or am I just bored? Admit to yourself this is a problem. A powerlessness over whatever it is you're facing and have been feeling like a failure over. Challenge yourself to admit that. Now, you can start to navigate that change. You can see a little more clearly what you're struggling with. You've taken those first couple of steps in working toward breaking that vicious cycle that's told you lies. Those lies sound like, I can't change. I can't gain control over this. It's too powerful. I can't win this battle. I'm too weak. I really need this cupcake or that glass of wine. Let's reframe those lies and thoughts, y'all. Let's empower ourselves to make better choices. There's that amazing word again, empower. Maybe tell yourself, I recognize in this moment that I feel powerless, but I am going to acknowledge those feelings. I'm going to take the steps necessary to move forward. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to have a glass of water instead of that glass of wine. I can do this. I am strong, and worthy of making better choices. And my favorite, not today. Absolutely not today. If I can just get through today, tomorrow's a new day. Maybe for some of you, it's just getting through the next 5 minutes, or the next 15, or the next hour. Y'all, let me tell you, there is power in speaking truths to those lies. I want to promise you, in that moment, if you will just stop and challenge yourself to make a different choice, you will feel so empowered. And can I say that one more time? You will feel empowered over those feelings that have had you feeling powerless. Your journey is going to be just that, your personal journey. It's unique to you, and you may be dealing with issues that you've put in the back of your mind for a very long time. It's going to be hard some days, and other days it's going to feel utterly impossible. But I want to tell you, you have what it takes to navigate this journey. Even if you need to seek professional help, you still have what it takes deep within you to make change, to do that hard work. So, my precious listeners, as we wrap up today, let's each of us take a bold step forward and recognize when we're feeling powerless. Let's take that bold step to stop in that moment and choose to empower ourselves by recognizing and admitting to the struggle. I want you to remember, there is power in admitting to being powerless. This is the space we can begin to take control. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit follow wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, I hope you live in your space well, my friends.